And so I'm trying to test fit this thing up to my tank here. I just routed all the wiring and the relays and everything, and got it ran under there, looking all nice. It's actually kind of hard to see it, but you can see it right here. Just pulled this factory pump out of the old car, and yeah, I think this return fitting, the one right here, is too close, and it's hitting right up in here. But the one on Powerhouse Racing's website is showing that to be a lot closer, and this to be like a 4-bolt design, kind of how like this little 4-bolt square design is up here for the wiring, instead of this big giant star piece. And it looks like the return fitting is a little bit more inboard out of the outer diameter. So whenever I go to put it on, right, I'm just mocking this thing up. There's no fuel in the tank, there's no nothing. I mean, this car is like, just got the motor in it like a week ago. And it's another thing too, is it doesn't fit like, so whenever I try to bolt it on there, it's like, it's kind of hard to hold the phone, so I'm gonna try to hold it and wiggle this so you can see. But yeah, whenever you try to flatten it out, right, it's like it's hitting something. Up here is hitting right now, but it still does it. Let's see if I can screw that down a bit more, if it'll go on a little better. But I think I had this all the way screwed in previously, and it still wasn't wanting to seat quite right. No, it's not wanting to seat. I don't know what the deal is with that. This is a full interior car too. I had no idea that this is gonna stick out this much. Like, I had no clue. Nothing in the description said anything about it, but cause I thought this would fit a little more snugly behind this you know, bit of the car right here, to where I could route the lines through there. But as you can see, it's sticking out. It's sticking out a lot. And I tried clocking it a little bit to see if maybe that was an issue, but I think this bolt pattern seems to only want to go one way. I could probably maybe flip it upside down, but then it's hitting the tubing right there, the old discharge tubing from the original pump. So, you know, I'm not too sure about that, what I'm supposed to do. I don't want to just clamp the hell out of the thing and warp this thing all up. Yeah, it looks like it is hitting right there on this wiring. So I'm gonna try to tighten that up a little bit, see if I can't get to go in. So whatever, I thought it was this little return fitting up here, but now it's starting to make me think it's just wiring. Try to snug that down a little bit and see. All right, so an update on this deal here. I got this fuel hat to fit now, but barely. I got it to where the fuel lines will clear and everything will work decently there. Got it all lined up. I did have to bend out the top up there just a little bit. Nothing crazy, just to clearance that out. I think once I have the gas tank out, I'm gonna come back in here with like a mallet or something and just kind of go around this whole edge right here and just kind of give it some light love taps. This stuff bends pretty easy. I can probably get it to bend out for me just a little bit. But yeah, I spaced the gas tank out. It ended up being like 3/4 of an inch. I used these little chrome spacers. from Home Depot, I believe. So the ones these are 1/2-inch ones that I drilled out, and they didn't quite space it out enough. With the 3/4 inch ones right here, they're like 3/8 by 3/4. Got them from Home Depot, like I said. They do not fit with the stock bolts. These stock bolts don't have enough thread. I really should have got some more. I think this is M10 by 125, but this is an axle bolt. It does thread in here, but the nut on the backside bottoms out. So I'm probably gonna have to trim these down to make them fit. Or, I could probably throw these 1/2-inch spacers on here so they're not a waste. See how that works. It's a whole lot of jank, but I'm not sure. I might just trim those bolts up or buy some different ones. Yeah, got all that stuff to work out. It's not quite angled right because I can't thread the bolts in, so the gas tank's just kind of like sitting with those spacers behind it. Yeah, I got all the wiring in for the most part in the car. I need to install the dash and all the little crap still, but ran the fuel relay wiring back in there. It looks pretty good. I still need to do my little tape job there on the loom. Put that in, and then after that I can put on the exhaust and the turbo and the intake, the fuel rail, the injectors, and all that stuff, and I can really get this builder rolling. And then it'll just be some minor stuff with suspension. I say minor, but the back end is not going to be minor. The front end will. I'm just going to do some inner tie rods and like some sway bar links, or not the sway bar links, but the sway bar bushings I'm going to do. And then back here, this whole thing's coming out. That whole rear subframe right there. Got to yank that out. Wire wheel it, put all the new suspension on, paint it, and then after that put body panels on, just the fenders, the bumper, the radiator, a little crap, and then some few adjustments to do with the ECU, and I'm rocking and rolling. I know that's a laundry list, but man, for having a car down frame, that ain't much. And gotta bleed the brakes, bleed the clutch. And yeah, a lot of work, but not too much longer, considering this has been probably a 6 to 8 month ordeal. I'd say I'm coming to the end here. All right, so I got it in. It's actually bolted up now, so I know what I'm working with. It's still a little bit snug right here, but it's not a big deal. I think these lines are going to fit decently here. Decent amount of space for them, especially after I kind of bump this out a little bit. But yeah, this thing fits okay for what it is here. A little cover, right? So I mean, it's not the end of the world if this doesn't fit perfect. I can make the difference up with some RTV. It's got a little bit of a gap where I had to bend it, but I can always bend this thing around as long as my back seats fit in here and this is sealed up decently. I'm not worried about it. And then obviously the most important thing is my fuel lines don't sit there and rub, because we can't have that. I'm gonna try to probably do like I think I have a 90 for one of these and a 45 for the other. So let me get that O-ring boss back on there so I don't lose the fucker. These ain't cheap. But yeah, I think I'll be all right. With those 3/4 inch spacers back there, it's kind of ghetto, but I mean, you'll never see it. I'm not cutting all this stuff up. Like I'm not doing all that and then having the back seat rubbing on fuel lines and stuff. No thanks. I'll find a different way. I'll run something totally different if I have to. Push in that gas tank, modify it however I have to. I'm not doing all that. But yeah. So here are the spacers right back there. I ended up using those axle nuts. They threaded all the way in. I didn't think they would, but after cleaning the threads out a bit, they did fit. So I also tested my my little panel that goes along here. It might push it out a little bit against the tank, but I think it'll be all right. I don't think it'll make it like a bad look or anything. As long as it can seat, it'll be fine. Yeah, let me get back to it. Cool little update. Got both my fuel lines ran. This one's not a problem. It's like, you know, super bendy. It's my return. But most importantly, I got the feed to curl around. And I got these mounts just kind of chilling. And then now that I've actually wrapped it pretty good, back here where it needs to go, that actually, the 45 lands right about where it should. Up here where the filter is going to mount. So I was worried about that because it was too long at first. And I got both the fuel lines connected behind the tank. So that's really cool. Really happy with that. It looks nice. It's a pain in the butt to take the tank out and fiddle with all that crap, but yeah. So far so good there. I'm about to keep probably chucking along on the fuel lines. I'm gonna probably get those mounts set in. I have to grab these little plastic screw things out of my old SC to get them to bolt down. It's kind of a weird setup, but yeah, I'll end it there. All right, I got these bushings out this morning. Diff bushings and the subframe bushings. Really, they're all subframe bushings, but you know, one's to bolt to the car, one's to bolt the differential on there. I got my fuel lines all ran. They look pretty good. Those bends are a lot tighter than I want, but you know, it is what it is. It's the only way I could get it to bolt into the body, and I know that it's not going to have a bunch of issues with you know, the subframe bolting in. Gonna tuck it under. Plus I really had to get that slack out of there because the line was way too long. It's still too long, but it's manageable at this point. That's the filter right there. And unfortunately, the mounting point is probably hard to see, but the little bracket that's way down in there, that one right there, supposed to be able to pull that off and mount it right there. Mount the filter right there, but really nice mount for that, but it's not gonna go there. I'm gonna have to try to fabricate a bracket, something, which kind of sucks because, you know, that's part of the reason why I bought a lot of this stuff all pre-fitted, pre-made and all that, so I could just slap it on the car and not have to worry about it. But it was for a Supra, so a little different. The tanks are definitely different, so I'm thinking that's where my length is a little too long, but hey, that's all right. I was thinking just a second ago when I was looking at this that maybe I could undo. No, that's not really ideal. I was thinking about maybe putting my lines behind this old fuel filter bracket, but that's way too tight of a space to put that in. Probably wrap this in tape too, since it's hitting that, just so it doesn't rub through the line. But I mean, it's on there pretty tight. If it's gonna rub, the whole bracket's gonna move with it, I'm sure. So yeah, seals up decently. This line ain't completely sealed. You can see the light on that side, but this one's sealed really well. Like that thing's sealed good. But if I ever get any you know, fuel leaks, won't fill the trunk up. It'll be able to go somewhere if it can make it over there. But yeah, I'm gonna finish wire wheeling this thing pretty soon here, and then I need to paint it. These welds, I think this thing was made on a Monday. Make me feel good about my welds, Lexus. What's up with that? Porosity, real bad. It's really just that one weld though. All the rest of these are a little better. Still ugly, but they're not like functionality issue. Yeah, just a little update on the K. There we go. Fresh coat of paint. I got to do the underneath, but it's all wire wheeled down real good. I got all the rust I could out and all the dirt and all that crap. Not really going to spend too much time on this. It's going to look 1,000 times better even with a shitty paint job on it. So I don't think it's worth my time to go jacking with this. Nobody will ever see this thing. Yeah, I think it looks good though. Still can't be, still ain't gonna be mad that it shines. All right. After a long, I think 15-hour day, got a lot of stuff in there. Got the turbo and the exhaust manifold on, and the fuel system all plumbed up. Injectors on there, intake on there, all the wiring underneath it plugged in, bolted on. This new fuel pressure regulator with the bracket and stuff on there, and 90-degree 1/8 MPT thing for the pressure gauge. Looks nice, looks nice. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. Don't have a whole lot left. I think it's just A few things to wire up in the engine bay, clean up. There goes my lights. There goes my train of thought as well. Run some new vacuum lines. I gotta get rid of this little soft hose for the map sensor. And I want to plumb it up directly to its own line, its own designated line, because it was sharing plumbing with the blow off valve and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna reroute all that stuff because everything was routed here, and this little nipple right here off the timing cover to the manifold. So I'm gonna reroute it to where it's just the map sensor here and everything else feeds off a nipple behind the intake back there. And that's boost gauge, blow off valve, and then the gate, I think. I'll have to run off of that. I'm not sure. I'll have to take a look at that, whether or not I want to run the gate off of that nipple, because it is pretty small. Yeah, I don't know about that. We shall see. We shall see. Yeah, that's gonna be it for the day, man. It's a long one. Oh, yeah, I got the heater core stuff all in there too. It's kind of a given, but yeah, about to go home, rest, and probably come back tomorrow and work on some more stuff. Try to get this thing to where it can fire up and be a running car again pretty soon here. Oh, yeah, that's one thing I guess I'll include, just in case I forget about it. I can watch these videos after I make them. But this 3/8 nipple here on the power steering reservoir, I didn't pull that bottom line out while I was in there to route a new line in, so kind of screwed up there, but it's all right. We can get it fixed. It's gonna suck having to work around all this stuff, but it's all right. Stuff happens. It's cars. Yeah, I got this thing like fully plumbed in. See down there, have the return line, has the feed from the banjo up here. Pretty cool little guy right there. Yeah, this feed was rather hard to get here. Rather hard. Kind of scuffed it up, tightening it down a little bit. But yeah, I had to bend this line all up to get it to conform to what I needed. And to bend this this guy. My little oil stick. I'm not sure. I've been up for too long. I don't know why I can't figure that name out. Yeah, the dipstick. Oil stick. Jesus Christ. And then there's a few lines back here after I changed them for the millionth time. I ended up pulling out the fuel filter bracket that was kind of in my way there. And then runs all the way down to the rail. Here's this pretty thing nobody will ever see. Clean up the hubs and stuff, but yeah. So far, got a lot of stuff done, man. I'm gonna head to the house, grub down, and go to bed, man. I'm tired. All right. a lot of what I did today. Ran a whole bunch of vacuum lines. So I ran these here and run it through this guy. I got this guy all mounted down. I got all this stuff mounted where it needs to go. I got the boot back there all bolted up with those little gold bolts. I got my conduit back on, taped that, zip tied it up because it's all old as hell and brittle and falling apart. But still need something to keep the heat off of my wire harness. That took forever getting the tape to fit between this little gap. Grounded it's a chassis to block ground and also a ground for my ignition coils. Let's see. I ended up having to redo these vacuum lines a few times to get them right, but I had to clock this turbo of all this crap hitting it that wasn't hitting in my other car. For the AC lines, for whatever reason, they wanted to make them different. I got the wastegate and the downpipe on. I put a header wrap on the downpipe. Help with heat, cover up my disgusting welds I have under there. I got this turbo blanket on a minute ago, and then I ran the hot side charge piping to the intercooler and got it mounted up. That thing sucked. It didn't want to go on. I don't really remember it having issues like that big an issue, but got it on there. Tightened up some of the clamps, and also had to order some fittings for this flex fuel sensor because it's not going to fit the way I want it to fit. It's 3/8, and I have a -6 return hose. So there's I mounted it up. It's in a pretty good spot, and then I ran the wiring up to that grommet there. Probably tape it off or zip tie or something to the brake line right here. This little guy just to hold it good. Make it look nice. But yeah, I thought that this would be big enough to clamp my rubber return hose on there. This guy, because it is a -6 and that should be 3/8. So I thought it would be the right size, but it slips right over it. So I'm thinking my return line's a little bit bigger. So I ordered some fittings that go onto here that clamp onto this thing with O-rings that seal to this, and then a couple more push lock fittings for the return line, and I'll just end up. It's hard to see. That kind of makes it look bad, but yeah, it'll probably sit more like this, but the feed line will be over here where my thumb's at. But yeah, it's on there good. The bracket doesn't move, but the sensor itself does a little bit for whatever reason. Yeah, so I'll end up cutting, a section off of it about that long and putting actual threaded fittings to it, and then oh, that green looks good. Put some actual fittings on it just to make sure it seals up nice. Here's the wiring. I haven't quite taped it up or done nothing with it, but I kind of think you get where I'm going with that. This is gonna go, these are gonna go to power and ground, and this is the signal. So I'm gonna put fused power to it over there at that fuse box, ground it probably where I have the rest of my grounds at over here, and then yeah, just extend the sensor, signal wire over to the ECU over there and pin it to that guy. Yeah. Takes a lot of freaking time trying to figure out where to put stuff and, measure it for fittings and buying all this crap and trying to find bolts. I'm missing some bolts here. I had some spares at the house, but they ended up being really rusted. So I had them outside in a bag, and the bag kind of disintegrated. Yeah, ordered those. Really need to do a couple things before I keep moving on. I gotta order a alternator wire, power wire for the battery with a big giant fuse that I'm gonna probably snug up under this guy right here. Then this also, I need to do this thing. I went for vacuum hoses today and I came back and realized that I was dumb. I should have got that. It's nice to have the intercooler on there. Yeah, and then I had to call a couple people. I called my paint and body guy. Tried to get an estimate for these door jambs and kind of add that to the bill. I ended up sending him a dozen freaking pictures of the car, so he asked for them. He has not replied yet. And then there was a couple of aluminum pipes that I'd like to replace because I scarred them up pretty good. Like this one here, this 2.5 inch little S-curved hot side pipe that goes through there, runs down there under the frame rail, and back that way, and then goes into the turbo right there. So as you can see, I threw some JB Weld over it because I scraped it up really bad. And then the little blow off, it's all the lines, it's the piping that's, hard to replicate. Like that one is curved and bent a very specific manner, to avoid the frame rail and avoid everything. I think I put it on backwards or something whenever I first got it. I didn't know what the hell I was doing at that point. It was probably 2 years ago. And then this guy has a pretty good gouge in it, just from rubbing on the, it's kind of hard to tell how deep that is, but it's pretty deep. It's the blow-off valve pipe here. The bends aren't really that specific, but it's, it's got that weird flange on it for this blow-off valve. It was rubbing on the sheet metal back here. This sheet metal right here, freaking aluminum's so soft. It's just rubbing away on that guy. I had this thing under it, had some hose wrapped around it, but I guess it rubbed through. It looks like it chewed that up pretty good and broke off just from rubbing, which kind of surprises me, but yeah, I'm gonna try to make this a little cleaner on the next go around here. I'm not gonna have some jagged ass looking hole. I don't know why I'm doing that. Yeah, I have to measure and cut hole out over here. I actually bought like a hole saw. It's like a 3 or 4 inch hole saw for this. I don't know where the hell it is, so I might just use a grinder. I think over there I used a Sawzall or something. I just was trying to slap it together real quick. Yeah, and I'm missing, need to grab some fittings from the house for right here and right here. I need to plug this off, and then I need to put another banjo barb fitting on the top right here because I want to actually run it kind of the better way, to where instead of it's just leaking off pressure from the MAC valve, I'm gonna have it basically what it does, instead it used to just bleed off pressure from the wastegate to where you could run more boost, but now I'm gonna run it to where it actually puts dome pressure. My bad, I'm used to this thing being zoomed out. Let me zoom that back out a little bit. I'm gonna do it to where it actually puts dome pressure on the diaphragm, because there is a spring underneath the diaphragm right here. It's all sealed off right there, and yeah, so you're just basically, you have air going in on the one side of the diaphragm, and then I'm going to be forcing it on the other side of that diaphragm to keep it closed, instead of just bleeding off air from the MAC valve. So there's a lot of extra plumbing through here. Doesn't look very good, but most of this stuff will get covered. I try to make it as pretty as I could. Run stuff nice and like parallel with each other and all that. Just try to keep it nice, because I am gonna have this guy for my ram air intake thing that I built. This is gonna go right over top of a lot of this crap, so most of it you won't see. You'll just see the pretty part of it over here, where it all ties into the MAC valve and then just kind of disappears. Curious how that's gonna fit actually on this car, because things seem to fit different on this thing for whatever reason. They just fit different. And I've been considering running my my crankcase ventilation, instead of running it over to here with the shitty little catch can that I have somewhere over there in that mesh. I'm thinking about running it to right here, to where it'll actually try to, pull a good vacuum on it. I feel like that's a better solution, because whenever I'm in boost, it's just an atmospheric pressure, but whenever I'm under a vacuum, the other side actually has a crankcase valve. So it's only under vacuum whenever the engine's under vacuum, which could be better. So I'll have to look at it. I'll see, because it's probably going to look bad. It's going to look a little ugly, but it'll function better. So we'll have to look at our options there. Oh, well, this is a very long video, so I'm going to go ahead and end this update here.